Welcome back, guys. Have you ever given anyone the silent treatment? Maybe you're trying to get back at someone, so you just stop talking to them altogether. Or maybe you've been on the other side of that, but something about your silent treatment says a lot to the other person. So joining us now is psychologist and executive coach, Dr. Lisa Orbe-Austin. Long time no see, Lisa. Good to see you.
I know. Hello, Natalie. Welcome back.
All right. First, describe for us, if people out there may not know, what the silent treatment actually is and how it's a little bit different than simply setting boundaries with people.
Yeah, so the silent treatment is when someone stops talking to you as a result of something they didn't like or they're upset about that you did. It's different from setting a boundary because when you set a boundary and you're going to not talk as a result of it, you typically say, look, I've gotten to the point where I need to take a break. And then once I take a break, I'm going to come back to this conversation, resolve it. And then then they come back to the conversation in a grounded place. This is different from that. It's also known as stonewalling.
Definitely different, not having a conversation that you're not going to be speaking to someone. So what sort of toll does the silent treatment really inflict on people?
Yeah, so John Gottman, who's a renowned psychologist and a relationship expert, says stonewalling is one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So it's one of the great predictors of the end of a relationship or a toxicity in a relationship. So it really can leave someone feeling like they have no recourse in changing the situation. And it can veer from like troubling to incredibly abusive, depending on the frequency, intensity, and who it's used on.
I know it never feels good on the other end. It also feels very immature to be doing to other people. What should you do if you're someone who is receiving the silent treatment?
So I think the first important piece is to regulate, to find your own grounded place and not to respond in a reactive place. And if you can, and the person's around and you can do this, try to initiate some kind of conversation with them about how you're feeling, what you're experiencing, see if that helps loosen up things. The additional thing is if you recognize this is happening and happening with consistency, and it usually happens dyadically or with more people involved, you want to consider either couples therapy or family therapy to break up the situation.
What should you do if you, and some people, we've been guilty of this, all of us out there at one point in our lives. What if you find yourself being the person who is giving someone the silent treatment?
Yeah, so I think it's important to recognize you probably have learned this from somewhere. Even though you've learned it from somewhere, it's not a healthy behavior, and it increases sort of breaches in trust and can end up resulting in the dissolution of the relationship. So you want to really kind of regulate yourself and really think about what are alternative ways that I can actually address this and deal with this in the moment that might be healthier. And even if you need to get grounded and regulated, let somebody know that you're actually doing that and then come back to the conversation. And if you can't remedy it, it's time for therapy and trying to figure out why you're doing this and what are better coping skills that you can be using.
Yeah, at that point, it's time to have the difficult conversation, even though you don't want to. Thank you, as always, Dr. Lisa, for your insight. Also, everyone out there, follow her on Instagram at Dr. Orbe-Austin, and then we'll see you here next week, unless you plan on giving us the silent treatment, Dr. Lisa.
Never.
Never.